I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is in a way a fourth term because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged.
President Trump once again falsely claiming the 2020 election was stolen, but admitting seeking a third term is an option on the table. Speaking with NBC News on Sunday, Trump said that there were methods for doing so and clarified that he was not joking.
There's a constitutional path. You have to amend the Constitution to do it, and that's a high bar. You know, the president and I have talked about this.
The 22nd Amendment prohibits anyone from running for a third term as president. Joining us now to discuss is Andrew Siegel, a law professor at Seattle University. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Professor, first, let's talk about the Constitution and why the 22nd Amendment was established in 1951.
The 22nd Amendment was passed because there was a long-standing tradition going back to President Washington, the very first president, that presidents would only serve 2 terms so as to avoid us sliding into some sort of elected monarchy. President Franklin Roosevelt, for better or for worse, felt the need to continue to run for a third and then a fourth term during the end of the Great Depression and then World War II. And the fact that he had done so concerned enough people of both political parties that they decided we shouldn't just rely on norms, but that we should actually write it into the rules of the Constitution, that General Washington's decision that we should only have 2 terms and then pass on the office to someone else.
That was a norm, in fact, that had stood for about 140 years. The 22nd says that no person shall be elected more than twice or more than once if he or she has served 2 years of someone else's term. Is there a loophole for someone to serve a third term now?
There shouldn't be. There doesn't seem to be. There's been a strong consensus that there's not. Unless you're trying to play some sort of lawyer game or prove that you're like the smartest person in the room, and the Constitution is quite clear. The framers of that amendment had a single purpose to impose a 2-term limit. They said it quite clearly. The search for a loophole is the search to disrespect the Constitution.
So here's the thing that some might argue. The Constitution says shall not be elected more than once. Sure. And some would argue that Trump could be elected vice president, and whoever's at the top of the ticket could then disclaim the office or resign, in which case he could serve. And there's nothing in the Constitution that actually would forbid that. Do you agree?
I don't agree, and most people don't agree. I heard that Speaker Johnson today said that he didn't agree with that. It is cute wordplay. But if you don't read the words acontextually, if you read them in the proper context, in their historical context, you look at what the people said when they were drafting the amendment, you look at the purposes of the amendment, that's just a game. The word election is meant to be shorthand for the entire process by which someone becomes president. It's not meant to be just the voting piece of it. The whole vice president gambit is foreclosed not only by the 22nd Amendment, but also, unless you really stretch, by the 12th Amendment, which says that no one who's ineligible to be president is allowed to be elected vice president. So I hope that we can nip this in the bud right now. You can play word games, you can look for loopholes, you can act like this is all just kind of a joke or an obstacle, but it's a really important norm that both parties have accepted for a really long time, took the time to write into the Constitution, and until now have been respected by every president who served 2 terms.
Trump says he's not joking. What do you think would be the consequences if voters, particularly Trump supporters, believe a third term is possible?
I mean, it has all sorts of political dynamics. I think he definitely wants to normalize the possibility, in part because if he can make it happen, I think he'd want to be president for a third term, but also because it gives him more leverage within the Republican Party and the Republican coalition as he continues to do things that are wildly unpopular, do things that are kind of getting at basic benefits that people expect, that are causing economic turmoil, that are violating basic American values. As he does those kinds of things, there are going to be those in the Republican Party who want to break from him. And if he's a lame duck president, it's going to be easier for them to do so than if they have to worry about him being on the top of the ticket again in 4 years.
I'm sure we'll have many more opportunities to talk about this. Professor Siegel, thank you so much for your insight, your expertise, and your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.